I just ate like a ton of stuff really quickly to get ready for the pod. And I also had some ibuprofen because I was having a headache. So I'm ready.
Oh god.
I'm just
It sounds like it.
What did you eat?
Pancakes and avocado egg.
Damn. Sounds like your body is in extreme flux right now.
It is indeed.
Wait, what's an avocado egg?
It's scrambled eggs with avocado.
Oh, okay. I was like, is this?
They don't lay eggs, avocados, in case you were wondering.
I was like, eating like the pip of an avocado? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I'm like, fuck me. Like, fucking avocado pips were evolved to be, like, eaten. Avocados are evolved to be eaten whole by giant sloths. And that's why they have a seed that's, like, no single creature could possibly swallow.
Holy shit.
And they were lucky. The only reason they didn't go fucking extinct is because they were cultivated by human beings before the giant sloths went extinct.
Thank God for that, because I couldn't live without my avocado.
So you wouldn't even know what you were missing out on. That's the scariest thing. Think about all these different timelines that we've missed out on, like these things that are so good that everyone wants them, that but they don't exist in our universe. Like Kentucky Fried Dodo, you know, in some world that's like the most fucking delicious thing you could possibly eat. That's what you're saying in another dimension.
I think that the existential longing that I feel, but I cannot explain or pin down in any way, I think it's the fact that in some way I know that in another timeline there's Kentucky Fried Dodo and I can't have it.
Yeah. That's that vague sense of ennui is your consciousness from another multiverse telling you you're missing out on something.
And in that other timeline, there's no global warming.
Exactly.
Like we fixed it.
And the secret was the dodos. They absorb their huge carbon sinks.
Jesus.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Video Games Are the Worst Thing on Earth. I am your host, Alton. With me, as always, is Reese.
Hello.
And today we have a guest. A very special guest who's made a very interesting video about the environmental impacts of gaming and the game industry. Hi, Mitch.
Hey, how's it going?
So we wanted to have you on because, I mean, the moment I saw the video, I knew that it was something that we would definitely want to talk about at some point, and I thought it would be great to have somebody who's, you know, looked into it and maybe read some stuff. and knows things to help guide us through this discussion.
Yeah, I don't know how to read, and Alton refuses to read. So that we need help on this one.
It's a good combination because I am dyslexic, so we make a good trio here.
I am too. I didn't learn how to read till I was like 10. And I learned to read from Garfield comics, which is
holy shit,
which is a probably a big point as to why I'm like this today.
Just every time you're reading, you're hungry for lasagna.
Mm-hmm.
Reading gave me headaches growing up, and I didn't know why. I was just like, "This is what happens when you read." It turns out it was just my eyes struggling extra hard to figure it all out.
So I guess the first thing we want to talk about is like, what led you to start making the video in the first place? It's been in the news recently, like the whole youth climate activism, and Greta, who has become the focus of, frankly, an absurd amount of reactionary sexual pathology, is the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, it's real gross. On all ends of it. Like, the hate she's getting, I mean. But, like, I had this idea well before it, and quite frankly, she stole my thunder. But we can get past that. It just takes me a very long time to make videos because I work as a video editor from home, so I get very over looking at Premiere all day.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a friend about it who's like on the same wavelength, I guess, environmentally. Like he's also vegan, like I am. And we were just talking about consumption. And then I sort of looked at my game collection. I was like, wait a minute, that's all plastic. And then
he just like had this moment like out of like a comedy.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, it's all plastic.
Yeah, like literally, yeah, like literally, that's what happened. And I was like, fuck, like I've got a bag of Skittles here that's made of plastic. Like, oh my god, my room is a mess.
To be fair though, like the Skittles bag is edible. Do you guys not eat the bag of Skittles after you're done?
I personally throw away the Skittles and eat the bag.
I've been doing it wrong, man.
Right. So sorry for interrupting you.
That's fine. But yeah, from there, I was just like, I wonder what goes into this. You know, it's a lot of plastic, and then you go to, I don't know what you call them, but like an EB Games, which is I guess the same as a GameStop.
Yeah.
And you just see like these desks in the middle of the store that are piled with like Crackdown and whatever game flopped that
Other
year.
trash.
Yeah. All the old traded in copies of Madden 17 and like FIFA 15 that no one's going to buy because it's an outdated roster.
Mm-hmm.
So then they just get thrown in the trash. On top of that, I don't know if GameStop is like this, but like it's like I guess an Australasian meme that when EB Games is having a sale, you fucking know they're having a sale because literally every empty space that could have been in that store is covered in plastic that says we're having a sale.
Mm-hmm.
And like just on top of that, it's wild the amount just in one of those stores alone of how much wastage is there. And yeah, it's something I wish I had touched upon in the video, but I was getting too bummed out writing it, and I was like, I need this to be over.
Well, I think too you make the perfect point at the start of the video with the legend of the Atari
ET cartridges.
the ET cartridges
Yeah.
that had been thrown away, and then like you show footage of them playing the ET cartridges that have been like in the ground for decades.
Yeah.
And it's just like these things have not decomposed. What has leached out, I'm sure, is not good for the ground.
For the drinking water.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, you know, you can only imagine how much worse it's gotten since then.
It's like when people are showing the pollution of the ocean and there's like a straw and like a turtle's nose, but it's just like an Atari-shaped cartridge bump inside a rattlesnake.
Oh, that's sad. I can't even get a good game, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember how I made that connection to begin with. Like, at some point, I was just like, wait a minute. There's like 1 million Atari cartridges under the ground somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought that was a good way to sort of prime people for what was to come, because like that's such a well-known, well, it was an open legend until Microsoft paid someone heaps of money to ruin the mystery. But yeah.
I think it's the perfect way to start off, honestly. I was like, man, it's amazing. I don't think anyone's made that connection before.
Yeah, I'm surprised, because if I could make it, like, I don't know how no one else did.
Yeah, it's like nobody's stopped to think like, oh wait, there are thousands of these things just in the ground. Isn't that, you know, terrible for the environment?
Yeah, isn't that the thing we've been talking about for decades?
But no, it's just like, lol, game shitty.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Like, video game culture overtook what was actually happening in that situation. Like, haha, game was so bad that we buried it, and then we found it, and now we can sell it on eBay and leave it in museums, and it's like a fun story, but
yeah,
at what cost?
Well, I think it's, you know, very much not a great thing for game culture in general. Even us, which are pretty conscientious, you know, discussers of video game topics. Like I saw your video and I was just like, of course. It has a terrible impact, and it never crossed my mind once because I am a goblin playing Monster Hunter all day, instead of thinking about these things, which is, you know, it's the biggest entertainment industry, and it's of course it has a massive impact. Today, it seems like the plastic cases remain to be the kind of biggest issue, as opposed to I'm sure that the discs themselves aren't great, but that seemed the video to be the big issue.
Well, it's packaging. Like, you keep the game usually, but like the packaging all gets thrown away. Like the plastic shrink wrap.
Shrink wrap. Yeah, exactly. And then transporting it everywhere. Even the act of going to a store, unless you walk there or like ride a bike or skateboard or something, you still, it's fucked.
Ride a horse.
There's a point in every single part of the chain. Like every single link in that chain sucks.
I don't think anybody has ever once walked to a video game store to get their game. I don't think you're allowed to buy the game unless you drive there in your car.
In your Hummer.
And your friends have to come in separate cars.
I wouldn't know anything about walking to a video game store to buy Smash Bros. Or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the laws are different in New Zealand, but in America, you can get up to 10 to 15 years for doing so.
I mean, isn't that just existing in America?
I mean, pretty much.
We could spend like a whole hour just talking about the politics of this shitty country, but that would honestly be kind of a distraction from the main topic.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe one day we will, because oh god, that episode's going to be fun.
So when you were making this video, what surprised you the most about the process? I particularly was interested to learn about the instruction booklets.
Yeah.
Because I had the same reaction that you did, was just like, they took my instruction booklets away from me because game companies when it actually, it sounds like, even if it's an excuse, it's a good excuse for once.
I think the most surprising thing to me was, I wish I could find more evidence on it so I could have talked about it more. But EA tried to make like a biodegradable PC box in 2010. Like, of all companies, of everything, EA was like years ahead of this situation, and for whatever reason, it just did not work. But I mean, it was near impossible to find anything about it.
There's heavy evidence to suggest it didn't work because it's EA.
Yeah.
I mean, EA bad, obviously, is just like a meme at this point, but EA really is bad.
Yeah, it's like a meme for a reason, right?
Yeah, and like you said, with like the Football Manager packaging that they did, it cost an extra 25 cents a copy. And I mean, everything that I've seen from EA indicates that they're just like hardcore capitalists all the way down the line, just pinching pennies wherever. And 25 cents doesn't sound like a lot, but when you scale that up into like millions and millions of copies, which is what they sell with some of their big franchises, that ends up being a substantial amount of money that they could just give to Be Kotick instead.
Yeah, exactly. Like, one thing I got in researching that video as well is, of the last 5 years since Origin Access became a thing, they haven't printed as many, like, I think it was 51 million discs they've saved. So if you put that as 25 cents per, that's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, of course, why they're so heavily incentivized to go, like, all digital.
Yeah, which is a topic I'm going to be talking about later, and I'm not excited to research it.
Yeah, like at the point where you stopped in the video, like my idea of where you're going next is probably the rare earth metals that get mined to actually make these machines that we play them on.
Mm-hmm. And then like labor conditions as well.
Yeah,
is all going to be covered in the console manufacturing.
Oh, that one's going to be nasty.
Yeah. If people got mad at this one, which surprisingly like wasn't as bad of a reaction as I was expecting. Like, I had primed myself for weeks on the YouTube comments for this one.
Well, you're not a woman or a minority, so
true.
Like, not even kidding. I think the huge reason as to why we can continue to make this show without being screamed at 24/7 by like gamer dipshit chuds is the fact that we are both white guys.
Yeah, that's a very unfortunate reality.
Until recently, like you don't make any, like, you make that one statement that like obviously climate change is real, but you have a very kind of like matter of fact presentation. Which shows a lot of restraint, because if I was making that video, I'd just be like, all right, me and everybody else who's ever played a video game is a bad person. This video is to convince you to never play video games ever again. And and so I think that tone probably helps a lot. It doesn't have those built-in buzzwords that make gamers freak out, like maybe Mass Effect 3's ending isn't all bad. Which I saw some of the comments to that video, which people were not pleased with. So
there's a whole thread on Reset Era about how shit that video is.
Oh my god.
There's like a whole Reddit post about how much they hate me and that video. So like I'm used to hate on YouTube, but like
I mean, if there's two places I wouldn't mind hating me, it would be Reddit and Resetera. So good on you.
But yeah, the console one I think is really gonna hit people, because with like physical games there's an alternative, and it might not be perfect, but there is something else. You don't have an alternative to buy a console. You either buy it or you don't. And people can be like, oh, I'll buy it on my PC, and it's like, well, that's worse. Sorry, buddy. So yeah, I think people are going to get a bit uppity about that.
I think that it's going to be difficult for people to process that something that they've been like consuming and like it is part of their identity for their whole life is produced in a way that is shitty and damaging to the environment.
Yeah, that's the thing. And like the gamer chuds, which what you said earlier, I'm stealing now. They like to shoot the messenger instead of like something I've noticed in being online is that a lot of the capital G gamers TM are so close to like being on the right side of the tracks with their politics, but they blame the wrong people and then get mad at the wrong things. Like they're going to get mad at me for telling them instead of getting mad at the manufacturers for doing the practices. Like sometimes they're fucking awful, but there's a lot of the more centrist leaning ones that are really close, and it's like, don't be mad at me. Just like turn that rage and tell Sony that their new like carbon footprint emissions deal is good, but maybe you should like look at your slave labor too. Maybe give that a go.
We've had a fair bit of discussion over the months on this podcast about the gamer identity and what that entails. And even I would say like leftist gamers get very attached to Steam as a corporation, Nintendo as a corporation, and will carry their water. And I think that's just a natural result of the way you feel when you play a video game. You have this achievement and it's yours and it's special, and how dare you say that, beating Sekiro means that you're destroying the environment.
Master Chief is actually my dad, and if you say that he's damaging the environment, I'll kill you.
Yeah, speaking of Steam, that's another topic I'm covering, which is the exclusivity deals and how it's good, actually.
Good luck with those emails and threads.
Yeah.
Man, I've never seen anyone angrier than I have people talking about the Epic Store. It's crazy.
I was going to say, I worked alongside like a local game development company here in Wellington, Dinosaur Polo Club. They made Mini Metro, Mini Motorways, and they got the exclusivity deal for Mini Motorways to be on Apple Arcade. And looking at that, like being in the studio alongside all of those devs, I was like, fuck, this is really good. Like this deal is so good for them because they had like financial stability the entire development process. But people are like, oh, I have to download another launcher. Like, fuck, so inconvenient in my life.
I mean, for that one though, it's like in the Apple ecosystem, so it's like I can't imagine that one's particularly hard.
So for the Apple Arcade, you just have to pay, I think it's $5 a month. And yeah, you just go on the App Store, and there's certain games that you'll be able to download for quote unquote free that are part of that system. But they've made it an exclusive. And I think it's coming to consoles and PC in like 6 months. I could be wrong though.
I see.
Yeah. But that was just like my insight into like, oh man, exclusives are good.
We could definitely talk about the Epic Store exclusives and how it's like they are for the devs taking the deals, they're fantastic because it's like they come with a guaranteed minimum sale amount.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like money in the bank as they're developing it.
Yeah.
And another thing is that they're cultivating and snagging up like the best indie games that they can, instead of Steam, which is drowning all of their good indie games with like asset flips and just trash.
Yeah. God, remember when Steam was like curated a billion years ago?
There was never a point at which Steam had actually done indie games correctly.
Oh yeah, no.
Like before they had like the tidal wave of garbage just drowning all the other games, they had like a system which was so heavily restricted that it was like a fucking miracle every time an indie game got on Steam.
Yeah, I mean, and now with more launches coming out, there's going to be more exclusivity deals, and people are just. I don't think the gamers are ready to have that aneurysm.
Oh, they will be so mad because it's like,
Yeah.
up till this point, much like with Netflix, they've been accustomed to a certain degree of convenience and being able to get everything in one place. And now that is slowly fracturing as every single publisher realizes they can just have their own storefront away from Steam. And it's gonna be a mess because I don't think the fracturing is really a good thing.
No, I hate it.
But it's also, I guess, not the worst thing on earth. It's what happens when you have a capitalism.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is too is that Steam is such a absent father that is really bad for a lot of video games that are not made by huge conglomerates. That is the sort of thing where I could see being more annoyed by it if Steam were better. And also, I think that if you're going to be mad at a game launcher, you should be mad at the Bethesda game launcher, which is the worst one.
I never even like bothered with that because as soon as I heard like it deletes the download, I was like, nah, I'm good. It takes me long enough to download a game on New Zealand internet. I'm not wasting my time with that shit.
Yeah, well, me and Reese have subjected ourselves to it for some reason to play the latest Wolfenstein game, and 5-second review, not worth it. not worth downloading any of that.
Yeah, I heard Youngbloods is not the best, which sucks because of the characters in it. You're like, it's just gonna make the capital G gamers be like, haha, go woke, get broke, and it's like, no, fuck you, it's just a bad game. Like, it's got nothing to do with that.
They threw these characters they created under the bus in order to create another Skinner box open world garbage game.
Yeah. And
if you just played through the story elements of Youngblood, it would be a fine in between Wolfenstein's games. But like doing all the stupid extra side stuff that you have to do and the enemies scale to your level, which I always think is the worst idea because all the enemies just so samey and no choice you make ever matters.
You go through the same places like 5 times.
And for some reason, the Bethesda Net launcher just like turns off my like video capture software. So it was like also fun to discover that, you know, the content I had recorded for that didn't work, which I should have tested more heavily. But still, it's just like, why are you turning this off? There's no just to be a dick.
Anyway, the environment.
Yeah,
the environment.
Sorry,
it's such a bummer. We you start talking about other things, otherwise it's just going to drag you down.
Yeah,
so that's the message we're trying to give you here. Don't think about the environment.
Yeah, just ignore it and it'll
sort itself out.
Fuck. I was like, maybe that's not a good thing to say.
I mean, it's sort of difficult because from my perspective, and something that, you know, gets talked about on the left a lot, is the idea of ethical consumption under capitalism. And when it comes to sort of these institutional problems, like the amount of waste generated during the manufacturing of a console or a video game, from like an individual's perspective, there's basically nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Because you don't want, you as an individual do not factor into the amount of game copies they're going to create, how many consoles they're going to create, and like you can abstain from buying physical copies or buying a console. So even if you were just like narco primitivism living out in the woods, you definitely like save your own impact on the environment, but it's like a drop of water in an ocean that is the corporate impact on environments.
Yeah.
Well, with a lot of other things too, that you can like promote more sustainable habits, but it's difficult to promote that like everybody just pick up a used GameCube at Goodwill and don't buy the new consoles. It's like A, not realistic, and B, there's only two of those at the Goodwill. Everybody can't have one.
And that's just gonna make the like retro market even more like obscene. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, one thing I didn't consider when I made that video, which a lot of people surprisingly pointed out in the comments, is I say go buy secondhand, because there's like 1 million secondhand copies of Crackdown 3 at your local EB Games or GameStop. And
oh man, that would be a huge sacrifice for the cause, buying Crackdown 3. Jesus.
Someone's got to do it.
Just repurpose that shit into furniture. Don't play it.
Yeah, you can melt it down yourself. It's fine. It's not toxic. And people are like, that's not supporting the devs. And that like hit me harder than looking around my room and seeing plastic everywhere. I was like, fuck, it's not. So maybe that's not the best advice. But yeah, there's no good solution, unfortunately, because of our good friend capitalism.
Yeah.
Well, it seems at least for the plastic concern is just to switch to digital. Even I'm somebody who was very much about hard copies, and now it's something I have to rethink because of the impact, which didn't occur to me once because I'm a big idiot, and to try to figure out some way to minimize these digital impacts that are coming in the future video.
Yeah, that's another thing that's like kind of out of our hands, right? Because a lot of power is fossil fuels and non-renewables, so it's like, well, fuck, what do you do? Like, where can you halt this process? Because ultimately at the very end of the chain is the non-renewables, at least for now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know it's like that in America, right? Like it's very much a fossil fuel country.
Where I live, a couple years ago, everybody just freaked out and refused to let this wind farm move in because they didn't want the eyesore. So it was just like,
oh my God.
fuck that renewable energy. And it's like, oh man, we're just gonna shoot ourselves in the face here, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm lucky. Like New Zealand obviously uses non-renewables as well, but like we try. That's the best I can say. And I think per like capita, in terms of like population density, we have one of the lowest carbon footprints in the world, and at least in like the Western world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something.
Giant wheels with kiwis running in them, turning the big turbine.
I don't know if you know, a lot of Americans
hobbits on treadmills.
I was wondering when that was going to come up.
I mean, a lot of Americans don't know this, but the kiwi bird's almost extinct. So I wish we had them like running our power. Wish we had more the little boys running around. But there was a point I was making in this somewhere, and I forgot it.
I mean, realistically, the only kind of way that the United States and other countries are going to move to like a sustainable economic model is going to be like massive government reform and regulation.
Oh yeah.
Basically, like it's going to require a shift in our economy on the scale of like what happened for World War II, where like thousands of industries shifted to focus on wartime production. And it's going to be something like that, where everything is going to have to shift to like economic sustainability with over the course of like a couple years.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like one thing I learned making that video is a supply production chain takes around 18 months for a major corporation. So it's like, gotta fucking do it now. The sooner they start, the sooner we can get there. But it's still like an 18-month transitional period at least.
Yeah, and it's like that's over a year and a half for a span of time where we have like a decade and a half maybe to actually course correct to prevent permanent damage to the environment.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh well, good luck us, I guess.
To me, what I realize is that under the best case scenario is that maybe there's going to be some limits on our gaming, and maybe it's not going to be the stupid, smorgasbord it was for a while. If things are ideal, just because it's not going to matter whether or not you get the Borderlands 3 DLC if we're trying to save the planet, and there's going to be a lot of screaming on Reddit about that.
Yeah.
I mean, Reddit can scream all they fucking want. I
mean, they're going to scream about whatever, but I think the volume will intensify.
I mean, fuck them. Like, we're headed towards another video game crash anyway, so it's kind of a perfect time for things to even out and lessen.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard speculation on that front that these AAA game devs are trying to create so many games as a service that eat up 80 hours of your time that they're sort of saturating the market and creating a situation where nobody wants to buy these giant shitty games.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I've got a few friends in game dev that are like, yeah, the industry, especially with no middle market at the moment, like there is one, but it's not like it used to be.
I mean, Jim Sterling talks about this a lot, how like after the rise of the AAA game, publishers basically stopped making mid-tier games that have like a medium budget and are expected to make a medium amount of money.
Yeah, now game devs just want a lot of money.
Well, they want all the money.
Constantly, all the time. Like, because of all this, it's going to crash in the next couple years, which will probably be a good thing.
They all just move on to making like business software or some shit.
Yeah.
Which would be an interesting parallel to what happens to their employees that they burn out working 80 hours a week.
Yeah, because those industries are unionized. Well,
yeah.
A lot of them.
Well, even if they're not unionized, they get treated a hell of a lot better than people in the game dev sphere.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because nobody working at a software corporation is being like, it was my passion to do software. My favorite thing to do as a child was play on Excel. I am a softwarer, capital STM.
God.
This fucking cultivated identity is used as a cudgel against the people who are so dedicated they want to make games.
Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of creative industries. Like, I see it in graphic design and video editing, and like being in Wellington, we've got a massive movie scene here. I don't know if you've heard of like Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit.
I'm not.
Is that like some small indie film?
Yeah, they were quite small. But like, because of that, the exploitation of people's passion is fucking ridiculous.
Oh yeah, Lindsay Ellis made a stealth review on The Hobbit / the film industry or the exploitation of the New Zealand film industry. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a really good video.
It's good, but I wish she did more because she barely touches on it. Like, she could have made 3 more videos about how fucked it is here, and it still probably wouldn't have covered the whole thing. I'm glad she made that video, but holy shit, there is so much more to it.
I believe it.
The long and short of it is our Prime Minister at the time bent over so that Hollywood could basically strip contractual rights of any contract worker in New Zealand, which not only in the film industry, but any contract work across any industry overnight. Like, it was rushed through the government to be changed within, I think, like 17 or 18 hours. And they haven't changed back. That was however fucking many years ago now. Like 7 or 8, maybe 9.
Jesus.
Yeah, we're still stuck with them.
Well, now that we've had this fun conversation, I think this is a good segue into our next topic, which is Troy Baker says he didn't voice Reese in Borderlands 3. It's very related in terms of union work.
So I may need a little primer on American union politics because I tried to read about it, but
bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bad,
Just
very bad.
Just imagine a smoking crater and a demon is climbing out of the crater, and you look at the demon and you see flashes of like all the worst things that have ever happened to you in life. That's what union politics are like.
Okay. Good to know.
It's getting better, but only because people are fighting back against it because it's currently so fucking shitty.
Okay.
It's funny because there's a graph out there that like maps average wages to like average union membership, and it's like they fucking follow each other perfectly.
But unions are communism, guys. Like
they are.
We can't have that. That's the enemy.
Oh boy. So this story comes to us from Kotaku by Cecilia Di Anastasio. Troy Baker says he didn't voice Reese in Borderlands 3 because they wouldn't go union. Updated. So, Reese, would you like... Fuck, we're going to say Reese for both of these. Would you like to read the article?
The article about a character in Borderlands 3.
Yes.
Earlier this year, Borderlands fans were devastated to learn that actor Troy Baker would not be reprising his role as Reese in Borderlands 3.
I didn't know you were in Borderlands 3, Reese.
I was.
I can't tell if you should be proud of that or ashamed.
Well, I mean, I'm proud of being in Tales from the Borderlands. I'm ashamed of being in Borderlands.
That makes sense.
Right.
At the time, publisher Gearbox's co-founder Randy Pitchford said Baker turned it down, but a recent interview with Baker makes things sound more complicated. Baker is a beloved voice actor who's voiced dozens of video game characters, including Booker DeWitt, Samuel Drake, and Snow from Final Fantasy XIII. Baker is a member of SAG-AFTRA, the union representing voice actors. In an interview with VG 24/7, Baker says that what prevented him from joining the cast for Borderlands 3. It was simply a matter that they wouldn't go union, Baker told VG 24/7 of Gearbox. He continued,
VG 247.
I thought it was 24/7, like the...
Nope.
Oh,
okay.
I've been wrong as well.
Wait. No, actually, you're right. I'm cutting this part out.
Okay.
Oops.
I can't do a non-union gig. And without getting too deep into the weeds of that, we had long conversations about this. We always knew going into it that this was going to be the thing. They were going to take these characters and put them from Tales from the Borderlands series from Telltale into Borderlands proper. I've been waiting for this call. They were like, do you want to do this? And I said yes. They never, because they would never move from that position. I'm not mad. It's invariably a completely different character, but it still stinks.
Baker had previously voiced his desire to reprise the Borderlands role in at least 2 public instances, VG 24/7 reports. Once, at a Supernova Melbourne panel, Baker said that if Gearbox brought back characters from the Telltale Borderlands, it should be the people who originated the characters. They shouldn't just recast willy-nilly, because as a fan, that matters to me. Later, in an Only SP interview, Baker said that he'd, quote, love to come back, and added, quote, I think it's interesting that Randy Pitchford tweeted out that I turned it down, and then he said he heard that I had turned it down. I would fact check before I tweeted that out to the internet. Parentheses, Pitchford also noted in his April tweet that, quote, with how Reese appears in the game, I don't think it actually matters at all. Fucking hell. You'll see for yourself when the game comes out, and you may disagree with me on that or not. Okay, so Randy is just saying, it doesn't matter if we cast someone else.
Nothing matters. The medieval times, that doesn't matter. Pornography does not matter.
Fuck.
Yeah, have you heard about the kerfuffle with him leaving a USB full of company secrets and porn at a medieval times?
I didn't know it was at a medieval times.
It was at a fucking medieval times bathroom.
So much better / worse. Like, this man is a fucking train wreck.
Well, he is a magician, so... To remain in solidarity with their union members, SAG-AFTRA members can't accept work on a production that also hasn't been signed a contract with SAG-AFTRA. SAG-AFTRA voice actors enjoy labor protections like guaranteed minimum rates that boost the labor standards for the industry. A SAG-AFTRA spokesperson had this to say about discussions with Gearbox. We applaud any member who stands up for workplace fairness and the integrity of their creative work. It is a courageous decision to act in the best interests of one's fellow SAG-AFTRA members, and this honors all working people. The misguided decision by Gearbox to deny their performers the opportunity to have fair union wages, a safe workplace, and the possibility of health care coverage for their families is unfortunate. We attempted to sign Gearbox to a union agreement. They refused and disengaged from those talks. We look forward to hearing from any Gearbox performers who is interested in the many protections a union agreement offers actors. And here comes fucking Gearbox to have their word on the story. Troy is an exceptional talent, and we were disappointed that he declined to partner on Borderlands 3 after being offered the part. We wish him the best and hope he knows the offer to collaborate with him still stands. Gearbox is a Texas company and is bound by Texas law, which means that a person cannot be denied employment because of membership or non-membership in a labor union. As a talent-owned and talent-led organization, are we calling Randy Pitchford a talent now?
I mean, his train wreck is a talent.
I mean, if that is his only talent, is pretty much creating train wrecks. They're pretty fucking big, so I guess I can't argue if that's what they want to define as a talent. Oh, here we go. As a talent-owned and talent-led organization, Gearbox enthusiastically works to ensure our pay and working conditions meet or exceed union standards. That's setting off my bullshit alarms, Reese. We also believe strongly in hiring local voice actors whenever we can, which is why we're thrilled Troy's career really took off after working with us. Fucking what the fuck? They're literally just taking credit for this man's whole career.
Yeah.
What a fucking... These guys are fucking assholes. Like, they're lying through their teeth. Like, and the only good thing about this is that SAG-AFTRA gets the last word here. So, in response to Gearbox statements and questions about why other union actors are voicing Borderlands 3 characters, so basically, if you don't know, Ashley Birch is one of the voice actors doing Tiny Tina, and she is also a member of SAG-AFTRA, and a lot of the questions in the comments were like, why is she able to voice her character and Troy Baker isn't? And this gets into that. So, a SAG-AFTRA representative sent this over. Gearbox reference to Texas law is a non sequitur. SAG-AFTRA's contract does not require Gearbox to deny anyone employment based on their union status. In fact, SAG-AFTRA's contract does not require employers in any state to deny anyone employment based on union status. We are fully aware of the anti-labor right to work for less laws that help explain why Texas has more minimum wage workers than any other state in the union.
Damn.
Employers in Texas and other right to work for less states nevertheless routinely work under SAG-AFTRA agreements with no legal obstacle at all. To the extent that Gearbox statement reflects legitimate ignorance, Gearbox could easily have asked that question during their discussion with SAG-AFTRA, which they did not. If indeed Gearbox meets or exceeds our contract standards in their treatment of performers, which we highly doubt, it would have cost them nothing to sign the union's agreement and retain the original cast of their game. While SAG-AFTRA does not comment on member discipline matters, we observe that SAG-AFTRA members who work for certain non-union employers not only deprive themselves of the benefits of a union agreement, they lower the standards for all their peers and facilitate the abuse and exploitation of performers. So I think that's a little bit of a throwing some shade at the SAG-AFTRA employees who like kept working on the game.
Yeah.
Just shade in general, that was, for as politely worded as it was, that was a fairly direct fuck you to Gearbox and Randy Pitchford.
It was fucking beautiful. Obviously, as somebody whose brain has been broken by Twitter, I love this kind of thing. This kind of incredibly petty, snippy back and forth. It's something that I've grown to love, and I think SAG-AFTRA here really is showing that they are 100% in the right. And that Gearbox is just fucking... It's like a fucking cartoon villain just lying through their teeth about how they treat their employees like better than the union, and how they're a fucking talent-owned and talent-led organization, and then claiming credit for Troy Baker's fucking career. Like, everything about that just drips with sleaze and grease.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that Troy Baker forced the union issue,
right?
And they had to just talk out their ass about why they had to say no to him. Rather than I assume they just expected him to roll over like the other SAG-AFTRA actors who decided to just, scab, I guess.
It's not even like a picketing situation here. It's like one voice actor who I'm assuming is like using their status in the industry to try to force, better working conditions for everyone involved. Which, I mean, good on Troy Baker here. It's like that's a fucking awesome thing to do.
He's like kind of the last person I expected this from, but it's really good because he's like one of the most prolific voice actors in the whole fucking industry. But,
yeah,
like especially since I think his opinion might be different now, but like Nolan North, I think, was a union buster at one point.
Ooh, if that's true, then fuck Nolan North, Jesus.
I will need to look into that, so like don't directly quote me on that, but like I do remember him like being very anti-union at some point, and like those two are like the top, like they are it. So it's kind of funny that they're like at the opposite ends.
Well, I'm not 100% sure what is Troy Baker's like position with SAG-AFTRA, because it sounds like he has like it almost sounds like he's got some sort of contractual thing with SAG-AFTRA to only work in union projects, but then I think SAG-AFTRA's letters makes it sound like, I don't know, this was a choice that Baker made. It's difficult to say.
Yeah. What I read is that SAG-AFTRA members can do whatever work they want, but then they'll probably get fucking shade thrown at them on Kotaku if they do.
Right. So, I don't know. It's hard to say what the situation is. I'm sure that there are a lot of non-disclosure agreements and, like, contracts that have been signed that aren't fully detailed to us here. So it's like, we only are getting, like, half the picture, but half the picture is basically just Randy Pitchford's rancid face, just giggling and chortling as he tries to break unions.
So to speak to the earlier question, I have the first sentence to this article I'd like to read.
Mm-hmm.
Prolific voice actor Nolan North, known for his work as Nathan Drake in the Uncharted series, took stage tonight at the Game Awards, seemingly to admonish SAG-AFTRA voice acting community as a whole, and basically said that because there's a voice actor union that's threatening to strike, that you're hurting the devs, and we should just stand behind the devs to do it. So I think that we can say Troy Baker is good. Only buy Troy Baker games. Do not buy Nolan North games.
Nolan North, reactionary, a dipshit. He is condemned on the Vigatoto the Vigatoto podcast that's ending this whole man's whole career. His career really took off after working with us, and by working with us I mean playing one of his games. So I think that we created him, we can end him. Simple as that.
Yeah, I bought the first Uncharted, and that's why he is successful today.
Now I'm giving it to Goodwill, and that means he's fucking over. It's done. So that was fun.
I know this isn't like the main point of the article, but I'm looking at Troy Baker's career as a video game voice actor.
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't on a 2K game until well after he was famous. Like, and even then, it was Tales from the Borderlands. Like, that's not a 2K game. It's just a 2K franchise.
Right.
Or Gearbox franchise, sorry, not 2K. I can't get over that. We made him famous, so we will destroy him now situation.
I mean, it's classic Randy Pitchford. He has to pull out the dumbest thing possible to say in the moment. Just otherwise, he's not Randy Pitchford. It's hilarious hearing the kind of whispers, a friend of a friend about Randy Pitchford stuff, where apparently, allegedly at Gearbox, he is just the nightmare, and you hope he doesn't come over to your desk to show you a magic trick and be buddy with you.
Can you? That sounds so fucking gross.
You're just like, imagine you're in hour 65 of the week of crunch, and your wife is just like, listen, when are you going to come home? And you're like, I can't come home. I have to design Reese's little hair curl in front in this scene. And Randy Pitchford comes over and he's like, you want to see a magic trick? I got a magic trick for you. And then he just plays you pornography.
I can make this USB disappear at a fucking medieval times.
Oh, man. Isn't it great that we have such an undemocratic system that just because he has enough money to own a majority share in the company, he can just keep being the CEO, even though he's a fucking clown?
Yeah.
In the lead up to Borderlands 3 release, he kept coming out like during the events of the whole USB stick thing. And like, I remember like, listening to Giant Bomb podcasts, and like each time they're just like, I can't believe Randy Pitchford was at the front of another one of these things while everybody was screaming about his pornography and embezzlement. And of course, it had no impact in the sales of Borderlands. It's not a problem at all that he does this. It's just this evil toddler just screaming around. No one can do anything about it.
That's such a fucking good description of him.
He looks like one.
Fucking Chucky is just running around doing magic tricks and just showing his full ass on the internet.
To like loop around though, like the Epic Store exclusive was more detrimental to sales than Randy Pitchford's fucking lost USB in the medieval times bathroom stall. Like, what the fuck?
I would honestly say that the ship has sailed on that one, because the Epic Store has such a already baked in audience from Fortnite people who don't care about Steam. And they reported on their sales in a way that I think a lot of other places don't, because they were proud of them and they wanted to boost Epic Game Store stuff. And it did not seem to really be impacted by any of the controversy, because it's Borderlands. It's one of the biggest franchises, and they sell $200 copies to just people really invested in that kind of thing. So, they have enough to pay Troy Baker and everybody else, double their wages and still make a hefty profit.
Yeah. I think that was an interesting thing from the article, is like it could have cost them nothing and they still didn't do it.
Exactly. Like, if they were telling the truth, which I doubt, it would have cost them nothing to meet the minimum requirements of SAG-AFTRA. And I think that it's like, honestly, the SAG-AFTRA contract sounds like amazing, because it like not only protects the SAG-AFTRA union members, but it protects every single other performer working for the project.
Yeah.
And it's like, what happens when, I guess you scab, that you don't organize collectively as a labor movement, you get fucked over by people like Randy Pitchford.
Of all fucking people.
Like, case number 20,000 of why we do not live in a meritocracy. Randy Pitchford has more money than any of us will make in our entire lifetimes, and will never have to worry about consequences for his absolutely brain-dead actions.
But the reality is that there are dozens of Randy Pitchfords out there. He only stands out because he's so clownish. It's like the magic and the way that he talks. How could you fuck me on this type stuff? Like Bobby Kotick and all of these other gaming CEOs are just as bloodthirsty and cold-hearted as Randy Pitchford is, but they're just boring suit wearers, so we never hear about them. But they do just as much damage.
Or they turn themselves into a positive meme like Todd Howard.
I don't know if Todd Howard is a positive meme anymore.
Not on this podcast.
He's sort of sullied. I think his reputation went in the trash a bit with Fallout 76, which not any of the shitty, like the actual shitty things that they've done in terms of like labor practices, but it just bad game. You made bad game, you bad man.
Mm.
It's pretty sad that like the state of gaming's political consciousness is literally just game good, you good. Game bad, you bad.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And when Fallout 76 is, when they take 4 years and, however much money for DLC or whatever, and they fix it, everybody will be like, oh, isn't it so great that they fixed Fallout again? And it's good again. Todd Howard's good again. You can buy Skyrim in Fallout 76.
Man, fucking Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be up by that point. It's going to be really sad when Bethesda turns Elder Scrolls 6 into a Ubisoft-style open-world Skinner box.
And I don't think that Fallout 76 taught them any lessons. I think the only lesson they learned is, tightening the ship on the big things. It's just the bag and the lack of content that they rushed out. I don't think that the next Elder Scrolls is going to be rushed out on the same level that Fallout 76 will be. So they're just going to be like, well, we just have to dot all the I's and cross all the T's and not make these kind of promises. And we're still going to have the same nightmare gaming practices that were in Fallout 76. But, it'll be a little bit better, and gamers will eat it up.
It's so shitty because recently you really do get the impression that Todd Howard is just a businessman. Like, no matter where he started off from a creative perspective as being, like, passionate about what he's doing, and you kind of get that sense from his early games that he was, passionate about what he was doing, and now it just seems like it's a business to him.
Oh, 100% is. The trajectory of Bethesda is so bad. Like, they peaked at Oblivion and then they just dropped right down to the earth.
Oh, but anyway, enough about Todd Howard and his shitty games. We're going to do a salt mine segment. So this is something I brought up earlier. Would you like the honors, Mitch?
Oh god. Okay, hang on. Let me open this tweet. So this is just a shitty game it takes tweet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, I'm afraid to read this. Well, games are expensive to make because the industry overpays the employees. We have useless VAs eating up budget too. Get them out of the industry altogether. All they did was dumb down the children by making it so they didn't have to read.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
It's one of my favorite tweets because it's just like, get them out of here, stupid VAs. Who needs them?
Anybody talking
in a video game?
Reading.
God, everyone should read. All right, so obviously that is overlooking people with dyslexia. So
yeah,
fuck them for that. But on the other hand, if everyone had to read, Morrowind meets that standard, so maybe this is a good take. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Maybe if they didn't have to have so many voice acted lines, they could have made a better story in Skyrim.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I just like the capitalization of we here. Just like we, all of us, have useless VAs eating up the budget.
So gamers, despite being the most insulated, lonely fucking people with the least amount of solidarity in the entire fucking world, love to pretend that all gamers act as like one massive block.
Oh yeah.
It's not even the first time we've seen shit like this where people are talking about gamers as like we. Reese, do you remember that real gamer attention thing when we're recording with Matt, where it's just like, somebody's gonna show up to where they live and show them real gamer attention. Just like fucking.
What the
Oh. I do remember that. Just be like, oh man, it's not the fake gamer attention is not getting murdered.
It's not
Real
getting-
gamer attention is getting murdered.
Yeah. So
Yikes.
just another normal post from a normal gamer.
Just having a normal day on twitter.com.
Hell yeah. So I think that's all the time we've got for today. So Mitch, thank you so much for coming onto the pod. I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time despite some of the content that we had to talk about.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate fact of the sort of gaming news that we delve into.
It's good though. I think more people need to do it.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I find this just like, and these are the games coming out this week to be pretty dull anyway.
Yeah.
So I would much rather talk about this, even if it is self-harm.
I love it, and I'm constantly fighting with Alton to talk about the games that are coming out this week. We got Borderlands 3, whole new classes to play. It's exciting.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And we scream at each other about that, and he wins. But how long?
All right. So Mitch, where can people find you on the internet and watch all of your fantastic videos?
I don't know how YouTube URL works, but like heavy-eyed, one word, that usually brings it up. If it doesn't, I failed the algorithm and I don't deserve your views.
We will put the YouTube in the show notes.
Indeed.
And then Twitter is heavy X-eyed because someone stole it without the X, and they have one tweet and it's a private account.
Oh
and
boy.
It bothers me. Yeah.
Those fuckers.
Wait till we show them real podcast attention.
Holy shit.
which is reporting their account fruitlessly.
Yeah.
Please. I want it. I need that handle.
All right, and everyone should go check out the video that this whole discussion sprung off from, which is the environmental impact of physical games, the ethics of buying games. So
Yeah.
we're going to link that down in the show description, and go ahead and check that out. Follow them on Twitter. You have a Patreon as well, yes?
Yeah, I feel uncomfortable talking about that. But yeah, I do have one.
If you would like to see more videos like this, go support them on Patreon.
And check out his video, How Video Games Funding Gun Manufacturers, which I'm going to watch after this because gamers got real mad at it. And because I'm a broke brain, that's what I like.
Okay, Reese, so where can people find you online?
They can find me at Your Very Good Bud on Twitter. I also have a Twitch at Your Very Good Bud. I've been intending to use it for weeks and have not yet. I also have the NY Times op-ed Twitter, which I have been unable to think up a good joke for because I'm too mad at politics.
All right, so, and you can find us at Vigatwato on Twitter, which is just the...
It's the first letters of the title.
Yes. And you can find all of our podcasts on Apple, on Google Podcasts, wherever podcasts are sold. And our website is videogamesaretheworst.pinecast.co. You can support us on Patreon over at patreon.com/Vigatuto. So if you want to see the premium content that we occasionally put out, and we probably should make more of, go ahead and throw us $5 on there.
If you want to listen to the episode where we solve the mystery of Jeffrey Epstein,
Oh yeah,
you got to give us that $5.
it's a good one. As if our brains were not being broken enough by being constantly exposed to gamers, we decided to go into the Jeffrey Epstein case.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think Mitch has made that noise 700 times listening to the terrible gamer things that we talked about today.
Yeah, my brain has been broken over the course of like hour and a half or however long this has been. It's good.
Excellent. I will put a notch on my dresser.
Okay, you can find me at 8alton8 on Twitter, and I think that's it for this week.
Mitch, thank you so much for your time and your energy and your soul.
Thanks. Thanks for bringing me on and breaking my brain. It was a good time.
Excellent. All right. Until next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Peace.
This episode was brought to you by our lovely patrons over on Patreon. Robert Miles, Martin Lucas, Rip Andy Nyo's Twitter brutally owned into oblivion, aka Conky, Imperishable Neat, Nine Citrine Winters Beautify the Heavens, aka Notsieger, Nate M number 1 brackets Reese for Smash. I have no idea what that means, but I agree. Jarhead Kuntz, Higgins the Seagull, Nick Rubin, Nathan Melby, Tholos, Kyle Reederman, Eggs, Tom Devan the Video Game Man, Jack Salmons, Dissonant Dragon, New Dark Cloud, and last but not least, Jordan. Thank you all very much for making this pod possible. Apologies for taking so long to get it out, but there was some personal stuff. My computer was broken for an entire week, and it took me a while to get spun back up into production mode, so sorry about that. We're back into full-on podcast blasting. We will have new episodes for you soon, including a new premium Video Games Are Okay maybe. So, stay tuned. Alright, bye.